So first here we have update on the Alberta Municipalities conference that was held a couple weeks ago in Edmonton. The previous Council Committee of the Whole, we discussed some of the resolutions that were more pertinent to Council's strategic advocacy priorities. Just report now that of all those resolutions that we had discussed, there was only one that was not passed by the general membership. As was discussed before, very heavy emphasis on housing at this conference. We had 8 policies that were involved some sort of housing of some sort. The one that didn't pass was the resolution that the council seconded from the city of Edmonton regarding support for affordable housing. There was a little bit of a hang-up on so it called for additional supports for affordable housing dollars, but then it also called for the province to create a clear framework to indicate which properties are tax exempt and would be tax exempt through municipalities and through the education property tax. I think some of the sentiment in the room was that that's taking some control away from municipalities, and that that could potentially open municipalities up for exposure to being forced to not have property taxes applied to a number of these properties. And so that seemed to be the general sentiment in the room, and it narrowly was defeated in the room.
Any questions on the advocacy update? Councillor O'Connor.
Yes, I also thought that the rental industry felt that they were going to be penalized, and that, I think, the biggest resistance to that. Nobody stood up from either this Edmonton City or our organization to refute that, because there was a fear it was going to affect their incomes and put controls in place, is kind of what I heard. Did anybody else hear the same thing?
Yeah, I definitely heard from some of the smaller markets that are less competitive that there was concerns. I mean, it wasn't our resolution, and yeah, I know that there was multiple people that believed the other way, but nobody debated it. So.
Yeah.
If I may, on that particular one, so I think what maybe referenced was another resolution that was regarding, was put forward by the municipality of Jasper about protection for vulnerable residential tenants.
Right.
That was the one that was a little bit vague.
Oh, okay.
And so there was a lot of discussion in the room that they were calling, people inferred that they were calling for rent control. And so that there was some opposition to that. That resolution did pass. It was a very narrow, I think it was 51 to 49.
So sorry, which one are you referencing them? The other one that was close?
Yeah, the other one was the supports for affordable housing. So it was the one from Edmonton, yeah. And like I said, I think generally there was support for the first operative clause, which just called for more dollars for affordable housing. It was the second one that called for the province to change the framework around tax exemptions. That seemed to get the room upset
Right.
about that.
And because I think the conversation at our table is that already the nonprofits aren't paying property tax in our municipality.
Yeah,
So yeah,
for the city here, it wasn't
some of the other ones.
Yes, yeah. Excellent. Other than
Rusty, sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Other than that, a significant part of the conference, there was a press conference held with a number of mayors, and it was calling for the province to increase the funding envelope for the local government funding framework up to $1.7 billion, so a $1 billion increase based on some promises that were made in the past and where they wanted to see it escalate. So that was a significant focus as well. throughout the AB Munis Conference. Just a couple notables. We talked about e-scooters. Has been definitely a conversation around our community, and at this council table, the resolution calling on the government to implement a province-wide framework for e-scooters and other similar vehicles that passed overwhelmingly, and so that will be part of AB Muni's efforts going forward, is to advocate for provincial province-wide legislation on that. With that, that's
Anything else on advocacy update? Councillor Bressie.
Yeah, thank you. I just think while we're talking resolutions and the local government fiscal framework funding, it's also worth highlighting the first resolution, which passed with 98% of members voting in favor to increase that pot to $1.7 billion. And worth highlighting that ask isn't just an extra $1 billion pulled out of nowhere. It's the organization worked really hard to make a reasonable ask, and that number is based on historic funding to municipalities. It's also justifiable by historic promises about the equivalent of education property taxes. It's also justifiable by how much money municipalities are actually spending on infrastructure every year on an annual basis. And it's also justifiable by the amortization we're seeing of municipal infrastructure stock across the province. So it's a big ask, but it's not one that was just, hey, give us another $1 billion. There actually is real justification behind that ask that 98% of members supported.
Go ahead.
So the city's resolution that put forward regarding medical first response, that was overwhelmingly supported. 96% of members voted in favor of that one, so that will be form a part of AB Muni's advocacy efforts. It's advocating for funding and compensation for municipalities that participate within the medical first response model. So that I can move into the advocacy items. So just going through some of the council's advocacy priority items on the electricity distribution during AB Munis. We had a good meetings with ATCO. They're, as we've indicated before, they're very much on board with this advocacy item. We've connected afterwards, and they've provided some policy briefs that they've created on this file, and so we're going to be working in tandem to support changes on the electricity distribution. We also have a meeting in a few weeks with Minister Neudorf, the Minister of Affordability and Utilities, and so we'll definitely be bringing up this priority to his ministry as well.
I just had a question on that. I recall the last council committee of the whole, you discussed an energy study that would come back with additional information. Do you have any time frame when council will hear some outcomes from that report?
Yes, through the chair. Yes, we will hear within a couple months. We've been told by the end of the year, we will have some of that further information.
Thanks.
On the healthcare, there was a productive meeting with UVA. Very exciting to hear about the physicians recruitment, physician training that will be happening here. Obviously, it was announced through the provincial government earlier in the year that this was going to take place. So it's exciting to seeing it come to fruition, and I know there will be a number of advocacy items that will be key to that initiative that will be coming out. We also have a meeting with Minister LaGrange in a few weeks. We'll be pressing on her the importance of that physician training in the area and funding for that. We will also be speaking about the medical first response resolution and the requests there for Minister LaGrange.
Any questions in regards to the advocacy priority update? All right. Anything else on 2.2?
I'll just go through the rest if that's
Yep.
Local government funding framework. Where the minister announced during AB Munis that there will be a formula by the end of the year, so we're anticipating that to coming out shortly. Regarding funding for industrial economic development programs, we had a meeting with Matt Jones, the Minister of Jobs, Economy and Trade. Seemed very receptive to the idea, and we'll see whether that results in anything in the upcoming budget. On rail, We do have an upcoming meeting here next week with MLA Shane Getson, who is the Parliamentary Secretary for Economic Corridors. And so we look forward to impressing upon him the need for improved rail service, and as the province can advocate in that space as well. On the daycare front, continue to meet with groups and try and find out local priorities there. You may have seen the Space Creation Grant was opened up yesterday for applicants. So we're just doing some further inquiry on there. There's it talks about there's increased funding for high demand areas. Doesn't define what that is, so we're looking into a little more, whether Grande Prairie qualifies and at what tier, what level. So that we'll hopefully get some more information on that and be able to provide that to local providers here. And the final one is on housing. So, as we've indicated, the Housing Accelerator Fund application was put in a few weeks ago from the city, and so we're anxiously waiting the call out on that. We've just started seeing over the last 2 weeks the first of those Housing Accelerator funds being announced across the country, and it's looking. There's a number of different variables, but on average, it's 30 to 40,000 per unit is kind of what's being awarded to these different municipalities, and they're starting with the larger center first, and we've been told that they will be rolling out to the mid and regional centers after that. So, and they're coming at a pretty quick pace, and we've been told within the next month or two we should be hearing what our allocation will be. And with that, that's the end of the advocacy update.
Councillor Plott.
Thanks, Mayor Clayton. Just on the childcare one, I know Councillor Bressie had an idea about wondering about it as an organization, if we could offer that for our own staff. And I'm just wondering if that's still being explored outside of that, or is that, are we exploring how much staff currently uses daycares within the community, and if it would be an opportunity for us to actually provide our own daycare service for our own staff? I think it's a good employee retention, but any spaces that we could open up in the community, if we did one, would actually open up space in the community for other folks. So I'm just wondering if that's been looked at or not.
Chief McEachran had a comment.
Thank you. Yes, for during our fall survey, we have put an open-ended question in there that basically will ask staff what would make coming to work easier. We didn't want to put it just as daycare, but to leave it more open-ended. So we will be able to pull information from the survey results to see what interest might be.
Okay, well, great. Thanks for the update.
Anyone else? Seeing no one, I think we're good. All right. Thank you for that. I apologize at the beginning of the meeting. I missed the opportunity to read our land acknowledgement, so I'm going to read the land acknowledgement before we go into our in-camera session. I would just like to say that the city respectfully acknowledges the Beaver Cree, Dene, and Métis people as the original caretakers of these lands and surrounding areas. We are grateful to live, learn, work, and play on Treaty 8 territory within Turtle Island, and acknowledge these lands have been home to diverse and sovereign First Nations and Inuit nations since time immemorial. Thank you for that. And now I'll look for a motion to go in camera. Councillor O'Connor.
Thank you. I'd like to move that we go in camera.
That motion is in order. I'll call the question.
In favor.
Berg in favor.
And that carries unanimously. Just give us a minute to get ready, and then we'll